In this exercise, we are going to take a look at using Blender to paint Minecraft skins. So obviously for this, we need a Minecraft style character. It doesn't necessarily need to be rigged, as is the case here, but it does need to have the appropriate parts available to us in order to paint the image and have that appear on the mesh. So we have to make sure that in UV editing all the parts are correctly UV mapped. So select all, are correctly UV mapped to our image. That's our base image. So we should end up with the arms, legs, torso and head sections linked to, obviously, the corresponding mesh section. So that's the first thing we need to check. Because this is a Minecraft character, it basically means that we're dealing with a very low resolution image, so 64 pixels by 32. So in order for this to appear correctly, as in blocky or pixelated on the mesh, we need to make sure that the material is adjusted to accommodate that. And that means changing the material's interpolation mode. The default is linear, which makes the image appear blurry because the pixels at this low resolution are being interpreted or interpolated. So to compensate for that, or to fix that, we need to switch interpolation mode from linear, which is the default, to closest. That will pixelate everything and make sure that it all appears the way that it should. So we have to make sure that our mesh is correctly UV mapped to our template image, and then that the material that's associated with our character is set to closest interpolation. Once we've got that in place, we can then switch to texture paint mode, scroll in because our image is tiny relative to Blender. There is our 64 by 32 pixel image, and there is our mesh in the 3D view. Now the basics of painting is that we just paint in the paint editor. We can paint in the 3D view, but at this scale most of the work would be done in the paint editor. We have more control over the brush. But before we paint, we need to make sure that we're painting on the correct image. So we click on the Browse Image to be Linked button and select it from the list. Again, this just ensures that we are painting to the correct image. So the tools that we've got available to us run along the top. And depending on what we're going to do, it depends what options we can set. So we have our colour. Click on that and it gives us the colour wheel pop up, and we can select a colour. We have the brush radius. For this, we can set it right down to 1, so we're painting 1 pixel at a time. Strength, generally speaking, leave that as 1. And then in advanced, we can enable or disable anti-aliasing. And what this does, so if we zoom in a little more closely, so as we paint, we can see that we are aliasing the colour as it's painted. Because of the low resolution we're working at, what we might want to do is disable anti-aliasing so that we paint relatively clean lines. There may still be some aliasing depending on how we are painting to the image, but we'll get cleaner lines and more control with that disabled. Fall off, we can also set this to constant. And this similarly will allow us to paint solid colours. And for the most part, that's the basics. So let's do a little bit of painting. So we've got a flesh colour set, so let's just change the colour a little bit so that we can see the difference. Make that a little darker. So this is the face. So let's paint on the face, like so. Maybe a little to the side. 1, 2. Let's do the legs. The legs, and then the arms. So I'll make a little t-shirt. And then don't forget the hands. So that's the blue. And the feet, or the bottom of the feet, the soles. Let's paint around. So that's the back of the head. That's the bottom of the head. So that's the back of the head. Let's give him something that looks like a crew cut. So that's all the flesh and the bottom. So we might want to make that darker, so we can use the slider to darken that so that it's the bottom. Like so. And give him a crew cut. So that's the top. And down the side. And then around the back. And then maybe across the front. So this is going to be tricky because even though the radius of the brush is set to 1 pixel, won't necessarily let us draw 1 pixel. So we might have to fudge that. So for the eyes, I want white. Need to fix this. So color picker, select the color and just paint those back. Pupils, let's go with dark blue. Again, we might have to fix those. So color, again color picker, select the color of the face and then go back. And mouth. Again, we might have to do some correction for that. And then what we can do for t-shirt, so let's do the green t-shirt. A slightly dark color. So the t-shirt, or the arms, are on this side, and that's the torso. So this is the side of the torso. That's the front. This is the other side. So we start to get into an issue because we can't see the border, but we can use these shapes that are available to help us determine where the sides are. Because what we might want to do here is change the color a little bit. So we can either make the sides or the front lighter or darker. So let's make the front slightly lighter because it's facing the light. So that's the front. Do the same for the back. That's the back. And then the top, which we can't see, so we'll hide the head. Make that even lighter. Or because the head is shading that so it doesn't see light, we can make that darker. Hide the legs. So we can see the bottom, make that darker. And again, if we make any mistakes, use the color picker select the colour and just paint. And if we want, we can add a bit more detail. Select the flesh colour and paint out. So this is the front. T-shirt section. Maybe map that to the back. And again, if we make mistakes, color picker, color picker, paint those areas out. We can also undo, so that's Control Z or Edit Undo. The color picker gives us a bit more control over our color assignments. So unhide the head and it's wearing a t-shirt. So for the arms, so yellow is the outside. So this can be the lighter color. So we can use the same color. So double check, double pick, color picker. Front. Back. And then inside. Which we can see on this side. One of the advantages of having the character rigged is that we can pose it so that we can see color assignments more clearly. So top, undo. We want a lighter color for that. Maybe that. Unhide the legs. Let's give it some purple shorts. And we'll continue the motif. So what we can do is use the color picker to select those colors. Paint those. Let's hide one of the legs. Make this darker because it's the inside leg. That's the outside leg. That's the front, so we can make that a bit lighter. And here comes the tricky part. Painting that one colour as a band across so we're going back and forth so that we can paint that out. And the top of the leg, let's hide the torso, we can use the same colour as the dark area. So that carries that motif around. We might want to make the front a little darker so the stripe is visible. And that is our basic character skin painted. But so we were lucky that we didn't make too many errors. Where we did, so we overpainted here. So the way that we get rid of that, we go into our mode and we select Erase Alpha. And this essentially turns the brush into an eraser. It allows us, make sure set to pixel 1, this allows us to go back, and again we have to be careful or mindful how this is being painted, but we click on those pixels to get rid of them and it cleans up the alpha, and there is our Minecraft character skin on our character mesh. So now that we've got our painted character, we're going to Image, Save or Save As, give our image a name, choose the location to save. Depending on the format that we're going to use, if we use PNG, use lossless compression, so disable compression, and then just save as image. So let's go back to layout, and there is our character with his custom skin. So that's how you can use Blender and Texture Paint workspace to paint Minecraft skins.